This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. A Tasmanian woman who was abused as a child while in state care is tonight appealing to the government to address legislation which would enable her to take legal action. The state opposition says she is one of hundreds currently blocked from gaining closure over past abuse.
In 1996, at the age of 13, Ms Reynolds fell pregnant to a member of a family she says the state had approved her to reside with.
They documented the sexual assault that I was receiving, the loss of the child. I didn't receive counselling or anything for that.
Remaining with the family until 1999, 14 years later, Jane sought legal advice, but for the past 5 years has struggled to take action.
They're prevented from lodging those claims in the Supreme Court because the limitation periods are too short, and the government needs to proclaim its legislation removing limitation periods for victims of child sex abuse.
Labor says Ms Reynolds is not alone.
We know of one lawyer, a Melbourne-based lawyer, who has 150 clients already on their books in Tasmania ready to take civil action for abuse suffered in state care and in other scenarios as children.
Today, the state opposition also calling on the government to sign up for the National Redress Scheme to help survivors of child sex abuse.
I think it's insensitive not to allow victims a choice of avenues to seek compensation. It leaves people waiting.
The government says it's an important issue, but not a simple step.
We'd very much like to be in a position to opt in, but there's a lot of work to do. It's a complex matter. You've got to be able to deliver for those that need it, particularly the vulnerable and those in need. So that's been considered very carefully.
It's my time to face it now, my time to move on and heal. So I can only ask that the perpetrators that have done this to people, it's their time to face their day as well.
Jessie Gilmore, Southern Cross News.
The coroner has begun examining the death of a 32-year-old man who was killed at a construction site at the Hobart Tip in 2013. The inquest hearing Benjamin Wicks expressed concerns about construction methods before he was killed by an out-of-control steel beam.
The family of Benjamin Wicks in court for the opening day of the inquest. Coroner Rod Chandler examining what contributed to the death of the 32-year-old. In January 2013, workers were constructing a waste transfer station at the McRoby's Tip. But during pile driving operations, a steel beam broke free from a sling, rolling down an embankment and fatally striking Mr Wicks. His father, who has 25 years construction experience, said he would prefer not to use a sling in that situation, and said of the sloped construction site, "My observation was that it was a bit steep. It was a bit crazy." The site supervisor told the coroner rubbish at the tip had made pre-drilling holes difficult, and there were concerns they weren't deep enough to hold the piles. When questioned, "Did you have concerns about the holes?" he said, "Not really, it wasn't my operation." The coroner heard in safety planning a 10-metre exclusion zone was declared around the pile driving operation, but Mr Dobie told the court this was to keep other people out. He was asked, "What's the point of an exclusion zone if you have people in it?" replying, "You can't carry out that work without people in it." Hutchinson Builders was cleared of breaching workplace safety laws in relation to the incident. In that original case, the snap sling was found to have been provided by Mr Wicks. In this case, his family is disputing that. The inquest continues tomorrow. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Recovery efforts following Hobart's catastrophic floods are continuing, with the RACT receiving more than 1,600 claims, estimated to be worth $5 million. Local councils are continuing works to clear the destruction and check infrastructure damaged in the deluge.
Crews tackling the mammoth task of removing debris thrown around during the catastrophic storm. Today, for the first time, inspecting the underground sections of the Hobart rivulet.
Walking through those tunnels, just seeing what the extent of damage was, how much rubble was in there.
No significant damage to the tunnels. The chambers remain intact and water is flowing freely. But tons of debris will have to be cleared over the next few months, with sections of its lining travelling from as far as West Hobart during the storm.
So it just shows you how ferocious and how fast the current was flowing. So look, yeah, I'm surprised that big pieces of concrete that weigh a couple of tonnes have come 2 or 3 k's down the rivulet and landed here.
There was so much water coming from Mount Wellington, it flowed above this rivulet wall, then going throughout the city, taking cars and infrastructure along with it.
We've had 10 strike crews out working since the Friday after the floods. They've done a fantastic job.
While that work will soon come, the insurance industry is fielding a barrage of calls, the highest amount they've had in a decade. 1,600 claims already made.
Water ingressing through roofs, trees down, wind damage to roofs, but most notably, and we're seeing flooding sort of knee-high going through homes and causing us.
More than 120 staff are dealing with claims, assessments and resourcing, with the RACT expecting to pay out over $5 million.
All the emergency response is now complete. We have a number of people that we continue to have in temporary accommodation and probably will for some time as repairs are completed. The total damage bill now flowing into the tens of millions. The federal government has previously announced grants for those on low incomes, for local councils and for restoring infrastructure. Andrew Wilkie today questioning whether that's enough.
Can you also confirm that people affected by the awful event, including the local councils, will have the full cooperation and assistance of the federal government in accessing government support?
The federal government is working closely with the Tasmanian government to assess the impact of the floods and to identify any further recovery assistance that may be needed.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
A major wind farm project in central Tasmania is progressing, with Chinese-owned company Goldwind signing a construction deal with Hazel Brothers. The Cattle Hill wind farm includes 48 turbines capable of generating up to 148 megawatts.
We are on track to our target to be 100% self-sufficient from Tasmanian renewable energy by 2022. This helps us achieve that target.
The project is expected to come online in 2019. Fire investigators have deemed the cause of 2 blazes, one in Georgetown and the other in Claremont, as suspicious. Firefighters were alerted to the Georgetown fire at a former service station on Main Street shortly before 1 o'clock this morning. The suspected arson attack causing an estimated $60,000 damage. At around 5:30 this morning, authorities were called to another fire, this one at a unit on Box Hill Road in Claremont. No one was injured. Tasmanians who dedicate their time working for the community have today been recognised at a formal ceremony at Government House. Tireless volunteers coming together to receive their awards, many shocked to be considered for work they love.
Stepping up to receive the prestigious Premier's Volunteer of the Year award, Leslie Williams today recognised for the 6 decades he spent working for others.
Honoured, very pleased to be nominated, but I didn't expect to get to this level.
Now working with the Huntington Disease Association.
Took my father's life and took my sister's life, and that's where my passion has come for that particular area.
Today's awards acknowledging those who work within our community.
These awards are not in any way intended to demonstrate being the best. On the contrary, they celebrate all volunteers, older and younger, experienced and learning.
Among the many appreciated, Rodney McLean, a volunteer for the past 28 years at the Glengarry Fire Brigade.
I don't think we've ever missed a call out. We've always got out the shed.
Now mentoring younger members coming through the ranks.
You always get more out of what you put in. You know, that's the way I feel, and I've made a lot of friends, you know, in the time in the fire service.
A welcome guest at today's formalities was 8-month-old Shadow, orphaned after his mum was killed by a vehicle. Award recipient Norma Baker acting as mum while he recovers and strengthens enough to re-enter the wild.
Don't even think of yourself as a volunteer, you just do it for the love of them.
Pleading with Tasmanians to check on any wildlife they run over.
At least 50% are going to have a tiny baby in the pouch, a miserable death unless somebody finds it before it's too late.
Today's event kicking off National Volunteers Week. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The RSPCA is urging dog owners to remain vigilant and act immediately if they think their dog may be the victim of a baiting incident. The Animal Welfare Agency says while it hasn't received any official reports, it is aware of posts on social media regarding recent incidents at St Leonard's Dog Park and in Trevallyn. Tasmania Police says it is investigating the reports. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed steady with strong gains by the healthcare and utility sectors, countering yet another fall by Telstra and weakness among the banks and miners. The ASX 200 index has fallen by 2.9 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 75.13 US cents and 109.6 New Zealand cents.
The North Hobart Football Club is still flying high after finally securing a win yesterday, and the club is confident of more to come. It was the side's first win under the revamped North Hobart brand.
Past players like Trevor Best, Desi Graham, who are legends of the club, they were in tears after the game.
The joy in those young kids' faces that half an hour after the game.
The D skipper was instrumental in the 8-point victory in his first game back following a horror head knock in round 4.
I was out for about 5 minutes, had a seizure out in the ground, and spent most of the night in hospital.
Former Melbourne Demon Colin Garland proving another invaluable influence on the young group.
He's played forward and he's had 25, 26 possessions, sort of nearly 10 marks, kicked a couple, set up a couple, but it's just also his on-field leadership as well.
Robinson struggling to hide his elation after 7 former Demon players defected to Kingborough during a tumultuous off-season at North Hobart.
I suppose there is that extra satisfaction, if we're being honest. It was very satisfying. All I said after the game was the feeling you've had today, you want to have that again and again.
Celebrations were more subdued at North Launceston, despite a dominant 53-point win over fellow competition heavyweights, the Blues.
We're of the understanding that we're not playing our best footy at the moment, and we don't want to be playing our best footy realistically. We want to get there by September.
Fly-in star Tom Couch booted 5 in a man-of-the-match performance and is set to return for at least the next 4 games.
And obviously, coaching last year is very knowledgeable, and I get a lot out of him being here, both personally and for the teams.
The Bombers take on the Tigers at home this weekend, with the D's set to battle the Blues at North Hobart. And the votes are in for the Tcells Player of the Year after round 8. With Tom Couch's 5-goal haul for North Launcestons during their drubbing of the Blues, earning him the 3 votes. Jake Cox was judged best on in Clarence's hard-fought win over Eastern Shore rivals Lauderdale, and North Hobart skipper Hugh Williams was the standout for the D's in their first taste of victory this season. To the leaderboard now, and North Launceston's Taylor Whitford has jumped up to top spot, 1 vote clear of Glenorchy's Daniel Joseph, with Ryan Bailey, Tom Bennett and Tom Couch 2 votes off the pace. The Soccer and South Hobart appear to be back to their brilliant best as they prepare to chase Lacca Seljack Cup glory yet again, following a cruisy 3-1 win over Launceston City in the weekend's semi-final. The visitors were well in control from start to finish and never looked like faltering against the NPL ladder leaders.
It was a good win for us. We were in control pretty early and got on the score sheet in the first half and were able to get on with it. So a good effort from everybody.
South will take on old rivals Devonport, who booked their spot with a 2-1 win over the Northern Rangers.
Devonport are a formidable side. They've got some good local players and the foreign players are pretty good as well. It's a good team. It should be a really good final.
The final kicks off at KG5 on Monday, June 11.
Good evening. Well, it did feel chilly today and the temperatures reflected that. Hobart and Devonport 15, Launceston and Burnie 14 degrees, 16 the high at Denali, Grove, Campania and the Islands all 15, Lowhead 14, Smithton, St Helens and Ouse 13 degrees, Strawn 12 and Lyawini 8. A good drop of rain overnight in the west, Mount Reid 63 millimetres, while today Mount Reid followed up with 7 mils. That's all due to that mid to low cloud over the west coast, stationary mountain waves evident as well, with less cover over the central east. And south of the Bando over our region. We can see a cold pool of air. Extensive low cloud is over the Bight. Most of Australia mainly clear though under that large high. Now tomorrow we see that large high as the front moves over the Tasman Sea. That high pressure system takes control of all proceedings. West to southwesterly winds at 20 to 30 knots, a bit stronger over eastern waters and up to 40 knots over the south with swells to 6.5 metres. A severe weather warning for damaging winds over the Central Plateau and parts of the west coast has been issued. A gale warning for waters between Cape Portland and St Helens Point and also from Wineglass Bay to Low Rocky Point. A strong wind warning for remaining waters, a small craft wind alert for the lakes. So conditions will start to pick up windy tomorrow. Possible early shower for Hobart as well on a top of 13 degrees, 11 the top for Adventure Bay, a windy day. Tarraleah showers and 9. Launceston mostly sunny, 16 the top, 15 for Devonport. Winds easing from Bridport but mostly sunny and 16. Burnie tomorrow a possible shower and 15 degrees, 14 the top for Strawn, a showery day. Windy one for Marrawar as well and 15. St Helens mostly sunny, 17 the top, 15 for Swansea, white mark on Flinders 16 degrees. On Wednesday, showers over the west and far south, fine and windy for the rest of the state again, fine and sunny for most parts on Thursday, a fog and frost to start the day in the north and a shower for the west, and those same conditions continuing into Friday, the winds more nor'westerly. Sunny and 27 degrees in Perth tomorrow. Cloudy for Adelaide, a shower or two over Melbourne and mostly fine and sunny weather for the other centres. Brisbane, a nice 25. And it's currently partly cloudy, 15 degrees in Hobart, 11 right now in Launceston, Devonport 13. The temperature's plummeting overnight. Jo, you're back from a warmer climate. I hope it's not too cold for you.
Oh, thanks, Pet. It's nice to know you care. All right, that's all from the news team. We'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye for now.